everyone. A panel discussion on the topic challenges and solutions of. I am Ria Umen and I study law, psychology, and business at Kunskap School in Gurgaon. I will be today, and we are joined today by other panelists. With us, Mr. Vishnu Karthik, Miss Smriti Singh Bhati, and Miss Kritika Garg. To introduce yourselves.
Should I start, Ria, or somebody else is starting?
Yes, you should. Please do. Go ahead.
Oh, great. So I'm just going to do a quick introduction. I'm Vishnu Karthik, been an educator for over 15 years, currently working with the Heritage Group of Schools as the CEO for group of schools we have. We have about 7 campuses with 7,000 students. Personally, I've been a management consultant before getting into education, worked around the world. I'm an alumnus of Harvard University and Loyola College, Chennai. Uh, I love biking. I have a dog and a lovely 3-year-old daughter.
Great to hear that, Vishnu. So, we can. Ms. Smriti Singh Bhati, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Very good evening, and I have been working in various capacities in the education sector for over a decade now, and my most eminent of works of mine is with the students. I've worked a lot on profile building and really put in my heart and soul into working with students as their navigation map. I believe that success is not actually, the end of the story. It's just a part of it, and we should all strive for it. So it'll be really delightful to be on this platform with Vishnu, Kritika, and Ria. So that's about me.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Smriti ma'am. We can go ahead and hear now about Miss Kritika Garg.
Hello, I'm Kritika. I'm the India representative for the University of Sheffield. I'm recently going to be completing my first year in the industry. I did my education from University of Delhi and University of Nottingham. And this is my first ever panel. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us in our Q&A session. We hope to make it as interactive and interesting as possible. We will start off by discussing all the challenges and adversities that we comes to online learning and virtual education. Starting regarding the future of digital learning, I question to Mr. Vishnu, asking how would you answer questions that people pose about the future of learning? The pandemic is still raging on, and there is no telling when COVID could actually. What strategies would you implement to ensure adaptation and comfort with online learning platforms?
Great question to start this conversation, Ria. Thank you for asking. I think whether we like it or not, digital and online learning is here to stay. I think the pandemic has only expedited or shortened the time it could have taken for us to embrace and adapt to virtual or online learning. You know, before the world wars happened, historically too, World War One, for example, really expedited the embracement of motorized transport. And before then, horse carriages were still the predominant forms of transportation. Of course, there was cars, gasoline-based cars available, but the World War really speeded the way the world embraced motorized transport. I think that's what the pandemic has done in embracing virtual, online, and hybrid models of learning. So they are here to stay. They are even more here to stay in the higher education system. They also will start making inroads in the middle school and high school uh, around the world. Uh, it doesn't mean that traditional universities or traditional schools will disappear. That wouldn't happen. You would still would need a school. You would still need a physical school. You would still need a physical university because the nature of learning is still social. Nature of learning is still community based. So we'll still need a learning community for people to learn, but the content need not happen through a physical school or a physical university. The content can be transacted through a virtual, cloud based, on demand technology solution.
Very eloquently put, sir. To agree on your thoughts. And yes, our world has definitely embraced this new advent of digital learning, and it's only pushing us and taking us forward. Smriti ma'am, would you like to add any inputs?
Certainly, I would like to continue where Karthik has just left. That the pandemic is here to stay, and with this, what I wanted to pitch in from this particular platform is for all the stakeholders that the most important part is that for once and probably forever, that learning from now on will not happen for the sake of examinations, for not just gaining on grades, or for not securing marks, but learning would be more democratic in purpose, right? So what I would like to emphasize on the strategy is that the child has to be more responsible, considering that the education is the child's responsibility. That's the first thing. That's the I would say that we should begin this like this. The second thing is that we are biologically designed to educate ourselves, like probably most of the inventions from the ancient world, if I talk about the Mesopotamian culture or we talk about the Indus Valley civilization, uh, there was like the concept of people were self-learning, people were engaging in self-education. So if I really talk about the strategies, it's you'll have to explore, go ahead, do experiments, and then become an expert in that. So the three E's, which are actually the E's of education as well. So please, from like, just go ahead, have more and more opportunities to explore, do a lot of experiments, whichever field you actually want to, and then kind of establish your expertise in that particular field. So this could be a strategy for anyone, like for from me to anyone who's wanting to get into the process of education.
Very explained, Smriti ma'am. I agree with you. Your examples, Indian and Indus Valley civilization, were very relatable. And it's our development has always been historically advancing. We have never gone back. We only continue to. Moving on, we have one of the challenges of online teaching is to maintain learner motivation and interactivity throughout the course. How can we keep students focused during learning sessions? We can get an answer from Miss Kritika Garg.
Sure, thank you so much, Shreya. So we know that the attention span of a student does sometimes go down to minimum of 15 minutes, 10 minutes even. So it's very important to maintain the students' attentiveness in the class during the lectures. And even for the educators, very important the students are focused. So these things can be kept, like students can be kept attentive through getting them involved in practical aspects of the subject on and off. Like teachers can adapt to a more interactive approach towards teaching and learning. They can go into making presentations or writing reports or even conducting debates on a random basis so that students are more focused on when the teaching is actually done. This will also help them develop their soft skills. Communication is a very important skill these days, be it written or spoken. So this will help them develop a very important skill. These activities could also be like some fun activities like education movie or an artwork. These could also bring back the focus of the students. Like, okay, something interesting is going to happen today in the class, so I should join and I should be focused on that. And obviously, they're always learning in the school, even virtually. So at the University of Sheffield, our faculty uses Blackboard, where students are able to scribble on the screen, and faculty also tries to keep the students engaged by creating polls and quizzes at the beginning or at the end of every class. So that definitely helps and shows how attentive students were during the class. It's not exactly a quick assessment, but more of just making sure that, okay, someone was listening when I was talking to a screen.
Well said, Miss Kritika. I think I definitely agree with what you said on keeping a classroom engaged and stimulated with all of these colorful and fun activities. Would anyone else like to give any inputs, any thoughts on the same? We increase interactivity and interest in a seemingly daily monotonous class. I personally think that been a long time since we started with our online learning. It's been almost 2 years, and I, as a student, find it very enriching having quizzes, polls, and puzzling activities. It really changed things up in the classroom environment. Moving on, various topics like um, how do we manage excessive workloads and deadlines, and the significant weight on students' shoulders when it comes to hours to prepare for exams or preparing learning materials. Miss Riti, would you like to answer this question? Please go ahead and share your thoughts with us.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for this question, Ria. This is, like one of the most important part of the pandemic, which has been a kind of challenge for both teachers and students. So, while looking at the work load, I think the workload should be shared because, at this particular the most important part of this time is working as a team. Teachers and students working as a team. I like kind of experimented this a few days back, where a lesson plan was done with the help of students, right? So there was this very simple chapter which was from economics, and kind of like teachers just asked the students to pitch in about, like, why don't you share, let's share, you have to do kind of a flip teaching kind of work, and you prepare the worksheets, the kind of test you want to do. So there was a team which was working on the worksheet, there was a team which was working on the presentation part. So I think when we work as in a team and engage both teacher, the faculty, and the student, I think it'll become very easy, because while making even the worksheets, the student is also learning a lot. So I might be picking up a new topic, and the student might be not aware of that, but while preparing the worksheets, while making a test or an experiment, because we did a case study, right? So I just asked the students, so why don't you come up with a case study? So there was a team which was working on the case study part. So coming I think something that is relatable to the boredom which happens because of screen, that is also taken care of, and the workload is also shared very in a very balanced way, where teacher and student come together and share the responsibility. So I think this would be a very prompt way to deal with this particular trouble, and it could be done regularly on a regular basis with students and teachers. That's from my side.
Very well said, ma'am. We can now move on and talk about a few more diverse topics. How do we bridge the gap between the two worlds we find, the real and the virtual world? How do we balance our exposure to technology? Ms. Kritika Garg, would you like to weigh in with your thoughts on this answer?
Absolutely, Jia. So we know that all the virtual platforms have boomed massively since March 2020. Like we have new names coming up like Zoom, Cisco, WebEx, and many more new platforms on a daily basis. Events and webinars are done on that. So we have actually embraced from a journey where teachers ask students to just stop talking in the class to pressing the button to mute all, and that's about it. That's done. It's an ongoing process, and it's kind of getting rough. It's been rough for the last 2 years for all the students and educators equally. Many around the world are also facing issues due to lack of network connectivity or internet or even lack of devices and gadgets with them. We have come from a time where internet was disconnected during the times of exams, but obviously that cannot be done because the entire world is functioning on that, not just the education system. However, with like now individuals are more connected, so that like there are a lot of other things that comes with it. And one of the things is excessive exposure to technology, especially for the young ones who are just starting their schools, for students in the nursery or kindergarten, or even if the 10th standard students, 11th grade students. So maintaining a balance between physical and technological work is very essential. Educators and guardians will together have to work on this to ensure that their children are getting the right help that they need. Parents need to ensure that their children take regular breaks and not only from the classes but also binge watching on Netflix and just being on their phone all the other time. As an educator, teachers can ensure that they have a timetable where they've taken into account all of the breaks. Like as Smriti ma'am also mentioned earlier, that it's very important to work collaboratively with the student to understand their experiences and their problems that they're facing. Students can themselves put in timers, like there's a new feature on Netflix where you can just put in a 10 minutes timer and it will automatically close. So such things also help students in taking a break, giving their eyes and brains a rest. They can develop a hobby, which is definitely not does not include gadgets. So that is one of the major things. So yeah, that's what I think.
I appreciate your thoughts on the topic, Ms. Kritika. I really agree on the fact that I myself, as a student, find myself online, get be it whether it's for work or entertainment or for recreational purpose, and taking a little time out for yourself, being responsible enough to do your own self care, being thoughtful about your mind, your body, and your soul, if I might say, is really, really important. Even in these tough times, we should take out a little time from ourselves and separate ourselves, create a small boundary between us and moving on. During this pandemic, the transition from physical learning to online learning wasn't as easy as it was for us, for people across the globe, because not everyone is equipped with the technology and the resources that is required to attend online seminars, classes, or sessions for college or or even school, or like Ms. Kritika was saying, kindergartners. Not everyone is equipped with those resources. So, how do we make access to technology more wide? How do we reduce educational inequality? How do we make learning more accessible and available? Because in the pandemic alone, across the globe, regardless of age, sex, or origin, regardless of nationality, people across the world, students have dropped out of school because they can't afford it because of financial drawbacks. So how would you address this concern?
It's a very valid problem. I think the world needs to engage more than it is currently doing. I don't think policymakers, educators, and parents even have realized that the learning loss for our children over the last 18 months or so will have perennial and life-lasting impact for the next 18, 20 years. And in fact, there is one research by the Pew Research Group in the US has come up. It says that children will lose up to 6 months of learning levels drop. And those 6 months of learning level drops will never be able to be bridged soon. So clearly, I think governments around the world has to ensure that just the way access to healthcare, access to food, access to safety, access to education is a fundamental right. We also have to ensure that access to technology, especially a good Wi-Fi, is a fundamental right. Wi-Fi was always seen as a luxury of the urban elite, but I think now it is ways and means in which common people connect, learn, understand, and live in this world. So Wi-Fi access is a fundamental. Just the way we focus so much on building highways and connectivity to last mile connections, Wi-Fi should be seen as a bandwidth. I wouldn't say Wi-Fi. A good internet bandwidth connection is seen as a fundamental access. Second, good technology hardware to access that Wi-Fi or bandwidth is also very, very important. So cheap devices, reliable devices again is another key focus area. But above all, I think what's important is good content. One of the problems our country has faced a few years back, nothing to do with COVID, is that you could provide free laptops and free internets to students, but if they don't have anything to do with that laptop or internet, it only is very counterproductive. They end up spending time on things which they're not supposed to be spending time on. So access to good content, an universe of good content across subject streams, disciplines, etc., is also very, very important. So internet bandwidth, technology, hardware, and third, good content. If these three things are there, I think we can bridge a lot of the inequities which is existing during COVID.
Very articulate and expressive. I thoroughly agree with the points that you put across. Universal. You see it in a lot of countries. Healthcare and basic amenities. As going forward, technology is a part of our necessity to function. It's um, it's something that we use on a daily basis and to stay connected, to stay online and up to date with what's going on, be it news, be it anything that concerns you, school or entertainment. Technology is essential, and we really should make efforts to equip those who don't have it with the resources they direly require. Moving on, these are very taxing times, and the pandemic is taking its toll on everyone. What steps can we take to ensure the mental health of both students and teachers during this pandemic? Ms. Kritika Garg, would you like to weigh in on this with your opinion?
We all know that mental health has been one of the majorly affected areas, not only for students and educators, but everyone around the world. With like workplaces and learning spaces being shut down, everything moving online and virtual, people like have started to miss that in-person feeling, that touch of being social. So that's not there anymore. It's like it is getting better, but let's hope it gets to normal, back to the normal, and not stuck in the new normal. So it's very essential to take measures towards coping with these taxing times because maintaining a healthy lifestyle and not only COVID free, that's very important. Many schools used to conduct like yoga sessions and dance classes and physical education classes throughout like at least twice a week or thrice a week. But those things came to a took a backseat during the time of COVID. Everyone focused on giving good lectures, providing that educational material to the students, and just making sure that actual education is taking place and on time. But now we are trying to shift our focus. Like schools are increasingly providing yoga classes online, dance, Zumba, aerobics. Like these things can be done from the comfort of homes. But these things should not only be there for students; these should be there for the educators as well, because it's very important to maintain the teachers' mental well-being as well. Because if teachers are in a good mood, in a good mental state, they actually influence a lot on their students. So even at Sheffield, most of our clubs and societies were very active during COVID. They were very active online and teaching students, like meeting students virtually. Students could get connected with each other. They were active in terms of networking, getting a relaxed time, getting a break from their studies. They're still learning. Like obviously, they'll still be learning very particular things related to the society. um, Getting feedbacks from students, like teachers and students, is very important for the schooling system. If they know how students are reacting towards online classes or the platforms that are being used on a daily basis and what are their experiences at home, and providing a very safe environment for counseling sessions. I know these are in place for a lot of students in schools, but these should also be in place for teachers because, as I said, that their mental health is very important and it reflects majorly on the classes that they are taking and the things that they are facing at home or at work.
Thank you, Ms. Kritika. I appreciate your response. I agree with what you said regarding teachers and students being in a good enough frame of mind to communicate and to be positive enough to wake up every day and to face the same day bravely at home within the four walls of your room. It's really important, and we really need counseling and mental health hotlines. We have so many of these resources. We have numbers and people you can contact, not agencies, but institutions that offer help. People to anytime. So yes, these are all very, very important in today's day and age, and it's very relevant that we talk about this. Moving on a related topic, like how Ms. Kritika said about talking about the physical nature of school, we talked about PE and yoga and aerobics. For many, the pandemic has been a period of utter inactivity. You've been stuck at home, unable to exercise or even, you know, do anything to exert or to energy. How for them take on seriously and that they understand the consequences of slacking or not giving it the attention. Would you like to contribute with a few thoughts on this pressing matter?
Indeed, indeed, it's a pressing matter. So, I completely believe in certain things, which I call it as, you've now got some time at your hand. So, I used to hear a lot of complaints from students who used to tell me that, ma'am, we there's this commute time, we don't have time. 2 hours go in this, 2 hours goes in that. So there's like 8 hours of school. So, what I think is the first thing is that there is an unlimited opportunity to play, right? With the word play, if I say that you can play with the tools of the culture, and if I precisely point out the tool of this culture is your screen, is the internet that's available to you, same is the unlimited opportunity that comes to you. So while you play with the tools of the culture, I think there is unlimited opportunities which are open to you with this particular platform. So while we just think about that, we might just be slacking on this, I would say that you will have to use it to your own opportunities. You should not think about this thing that what am I going to do, I'm feeling bored. So it's all up to you. You are more free as a learner. So engage in a lot of new tutoring, self tutoring into, like, uh, I had met a student who was saying that I wanted to play guitar, and it was long his dream. So I finally saw him that he made his YouTube channel now, and when I, like, it came to me as a surprise, and then he said that finally, ma'am, I'm here, that I could pull out some time. So I know that the platform is the same; it's not going to change, but when we've all fallen in love with the tools of your culture, we should use it to our own benefit. Learn more and more things, pick up those things which make you uncomfortable. So probably music is not my genre, but playing a guitar was always a dream. So probably I might pick up that and try to kind of challenge myself. So take on those things which are more challenging to you. Don't have an easy what should I say, easy workout schedule. Give yourself more challenging day. If you don't like cooking, please, I know you might not like cooking, but lay your hands, become a little dirty while baking, and go and stand with your mother, or do some experiments, burn some cakes, and kind of engage in those things which are more challenging to you, which are not in your comfort zone, right? Because these challenges will keep you on the grind, and you'll always keep on thinking that, okay, how am I going to improve on that? Or so there are two ways: either you improve on that or you'll give up on that, and if you give up on that, then you'll have a new challenge. So the circle goes on and on, and that's how you will not have slacking. You will not have any moments of probably diminished energies because of these new challenges. So I think that would work. What do you say, Riyad? Would that work for you as a student?
I think it definitely would. I agree wholeheartedly with what you said about the untapped potential that's in us all. And we're so bored at home, but it's only because we're so reluctant to try out all of the new activities that we haven't yet done. I agree about what you said about getting your hands dirty, experimenting, and jumping in with both feet, and just exploring the world around you. Even though you're in that, within the four walls of your room, there's still millions of stuff that you can.
Yeah, with this, Ria, I have a little kind of like curiosity, which I because you are here. So like apart from all the aspects, what was from the psychological point of view, if I talk about as a student, so what's that aspect of online learning that has impacted you? And how can we as educators work on the virtual learning environment more to make it more social and more open, so that it becomes very interactive for our students? So like if you could throw some light on this.
Thank you so much for posing that question. I think it's really relevant, especially in today's day and age. With COVID and us being stuck at home, online learning, I'd say, is become challenging. The workload on both students and teachers is quite large, and being able to manage both of that at the same time can have a lot of effects on, like Miss Kritika was speaking about, mental health. And I think there's a lot of stigma when you talk about mental health associated with the topic, because I'm a student of psychology, and when you talk about therapy, or when you talk about seeking help or counseling, or someone talking to a friend or a relative, just reaching out, taking that step, being brave enough to talk about what you're going through, most people don't acknowledge the fact that they might be, and accepted it because it's like a new normal for them. A constant state of anxiety, it's normal for them. And when I say psychological, I mean a lot of disorders. It could be stress wise, anxiety wise, depression disorders. But the best we can do in these times is to persevere, to endeavor, to try to push through and see the light at the end of the tunnel. So all we can do right now is try our best, and hope that there's an end to this seemingly endless period of COVID 19.
If I could just add on what Ria just mentioned about the psychological aspects, It's very important for parents to create that environment where talking about anxiety and panic attacks is normal. It's not seen as if there's something wrong with the person. So it's very important to create that environment. I know that at Indian homes, it's not acceptable to see a psychologist for therapy or go for counseling sessions. It's not looked at very nicely. So it's very important for parents and teachers to to provide that comfortable zone, that comfortable safe space, and for students to get out of their comfort zone and experiment with things and just be confident in what they're doing, and just creating that environment at house, that at home, that okay, it's okay to fail, it's okay to not always stop, it's okay to be a backbencher at times. It's very important, especially in these times where students have, like, all of their social activities have stopped. They're not going to go out for running, or they can't go out play cricket with their friends. So it's very important for everyone to join hands together and work on this for themselves, for students, for parents, everyone.
I definitely agree. I too think that if anything, it should be a collective measure that we take, work on it as a society, as a group in a united manner. Moving on, let's discuss all of the challenges that we face on a technical basis. What can we do about connectivity issues, infrastructure drawbacks, and other insufficiencies faced by students and teachers alike? Vishnu sir, would you like to weigh in on this with your opinions and your thoughts on the same? I hope we haven't lost him. No, sir, we can't hear you. You could try to rejoin. Meanwhile, we can fill up this awkward silence by all of the different concerns that maybe our panelists have. We can talk about the simplest of things. It doesn't have to be a complex problem. We can address problems that, like Ms. Kritika just said, associated with, just speaking about mental health. So, how do you think parents or our caregivers can create that environment? Because I know that my parents, they do try, they make an effort. I mean, they're not very conventional, they don't have a very traditional outlook on life. But what do you think we can do to create that environment? How do we make people comfortable?
Can I say something, Ria?
Sure, please go ahead. Feel free to
Yeah.
weigh
So,
in.
one thing that I have understood, which has really worked very well with a lot of students, and that is which is called as free age mixing. So within this periphery of a 13-year-old to an 18-year-old, there are certain problems, there are certain issues that stand common, right? So from this particular if I talk about from 13 to 18, and you're in the same community, you're in the same school, you're kind of like having the same kind of environment, what I suggest is that free age mixing should be, it should happen more often. Being a 11th grader or a 10th grader, you should have conversations with a ninth grader and a 10th grader. So there's a platform by the name of MHA, which is mental health, related to mental health. And you can have a conversation, you can have an evening conversation, you can it's just a free platform. I don't know whether there would be a teacher or a parent who could just be there and understand what's happening. I It would be really lovely to have a teacher or a parent, because probably that'll make the free age mixing kind of a thing more easier. And you can just have conversations over easy conversations over topics or issues which are like common to probably this age group, because this free age mixing really helps a lot. Because while I was doing this MHA club in my school, I heard of simple issues like probably body shaming, or from their images on social media platforms to, so there was everything which was talked about. And probably kids become very comfortable. And there's a point of time when you went out your feelings, because that there are contemporaries, there's no one who's against them. And I think that makes this platform has an access to a variety of caring adults. So probably Ria would be a very caring adult who is a helper, not a judge. So probably you will be in that position, like you said, that my parents are they try their level best to help, but still there's kind of like
A
can't
gap.
help it that they're still parents,
Yeah.
right? So free age mixing can give you an access where you are surrounded by adults who are helpers and caretakers rather than your judges. So I think a lot of that can be taken care in the school itself rather than in the community itself. So it can come as an initiative by the younger ones to the seniors, or the senior ones to the juniors. Like it can flow down, and the flow can be decided. But I think this helps a lot, because I've really seen it working. Is Vishnu back with us?
I hope his technical issues have. I think we'll give it a few more minutes.
Right, right.
But Smriti ma'am, I wholeheartedly agree. I think mixing with people regardless of your age, there's always that certain boundary. Treat your elders with a certain respect, and I'm all for that. But that sometimes makes them a little hard to approach, a little hard to address topics that they might not be very open to discussing. So yes, we should definitely, collectively as a group, as a society, look at how we can address anything, be it body shaming. I mean, there's a world of things out there that affect people across all ages. So, yeah, we should definitely try to address all of these issues at hand. I don't think we have Vishnu sir with us, but we can go about wrapping up the session.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
sure, sure,
nearly
sure.
5:45, and it was a real pleasure having all of you panelists discussing the challenges and the solutions of virtual education. We talked about the future of digital learning. We talked about mental health. We talked about time management. We talked about effective strategies on how to balance technology and the real world. And we talked about educational inequality. How do we equip those sources to attend online school with that which they need? We addressed all of these matters at hand, and I'd say that we definitely, had a very stimulating, interesting conversation. And it was a pleasure talking to all of you. And I hope and wish you all the best in the future for any endeavors that you might be taking up.